Welcome to Celebrate Recovery, my favorite night of the week.
Woo!
My name is Dan. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. Lots and lots of sins, mostly based around alcohol and trying to think that I was God. So that didn't turn out well.
Me too.
And I'm here. But thankfully, that's why I got to meet you guys. So for anyone who there's new but experienced with Celebrate Recovery, we are halfway through the year, which means we have 26 lessons throughout the year and then 26 testimonies. So with the 26 lessons, we are at number 13, which is exactly halfway through. So if we were all doing a step study, we would be halfway through the step study, essentially. So admit is tonight's lesson. How many of you guys went through any of the A's? The AA, NA, CA? OA? LA does not count? Okay. So anyway, when you didn't I say NA?
Yeah, probably.
I hope so. If not, I apologize.
Oh, it's all right. I'm not gonna...
So anyway, so this lesson is the equivalent to lesson 5. So if you've been through your steps in AA or the other A's, this is where you sit down with your sponsor and you spill your guts. Step 4 is when we do our inventory in the A's, and then this is step 5. So it's really the same step. For me, this was where I had my major breakthroughs. So everything else was me, think about me and God, think about me and my sins and me and my family, and then you sit down in front of another human. And it's more important that we do it with God, but when you do it with another human being, it personalizes it. You feel it. I'm sure it's different. And if you have the right sponsor, they're not judging you. They are understanding. They're helping you. They are there. This whole process is supposed to be healing. And when I came out of this lesson, this step, the amount of healing that I could feel in my body was palpable. You could actually feel the difference. So I don't know where everybody is in their steps tonight. I don't think anybody's going through any, but it's a really important step. So it meant a lot to me. Anyway, so this week we are focusing on admitting or confessing our faults. All of our dark secrets, we are sharing them with another human being. It sounds kind of ominous. It sounds kind of scary, but as soon as you get over that first step, that first couple words, then you get comfortable. This is a confession step. I grew up Catholic. Ruth, we were just talking about this. This is not Catholic confession, where you go behind a screen and bless me, Father, I've sinned. It's been 19 years since I even stepped foot in the Catholic Church, and then he says, we're going to give you 10 Our Fathers and 25 Hail Marys, and go and sin no more. And then you walk out and go, cool. So this is not confession the Catholic way. This Catholic confession is something that I grew up having to do. This step is something I get to do, and I look forward to it. I look forward to hearing somebody else's input. Kevin and I haven't gone through it individually, but I value Kevin's input, his insight. So it's supposed to get something good out of this step. It's not big and scary the way people make it out to be. It is a very, very helpful, growing step. So the goal here is to get rid of your baggage, your guilt that we've been carrying around. I haven't met a single person that comes out of this step that was not happy that they went through it. Like I said, it's a liberating, satisfying process. We unload all of our unnecessary stuff we've been carrying around, and we come out lighter on our feet. Okay, so this step, we're not saying it to God. We're not saying it to a tree or to the ocean or the wind blowing by or the cars on the freeway. It is to another person. The A's will let you do some of this to another person. CR, it's very important that you choose somebody. It does not have to be a sponsor, just somebody who can listen to you. So why does it have to be another person? First of all, we're looking for accountability. If I have something that I'm struggling with internally, I can always apologize to God. God, I didn't do well. Help me do better next time. And it's up to me if I mean that or not. If I say something to Gary, and Gary knows that I'm struggling with certain sin, then he can watch me on Sunday mornings when we're setting up a church, or when we're here. Yes, he's watching. So, and not watching for aha. It's watching for accountability.
Tough love.
So it doesn't have to be tough love. It can be absolute love. Hey, hey, what's going on? What happened? What do you need help with? So it's very personal. When you ask somebody to listen to that, we are giving them permission to get involved in our lives. Now, if I want to hide and be a different person when I'm around my sponsor or whoever I share that with, that's on me. But I'm here to recover. So I'm not here to play a game and to look nice and pretty and to stand up here and say, golly gee, I went through that step and it was great. I want to get something out of it. So I hope you guys do too. So anyway, first reason is accountability. Another reason is it's far too easy to hold on to secrets. I mean, when we were addicts, when we first decided to come to CR, I don't think anybody in here didn't have secrets that people didn't know. Nobody knew. Man, they knew I went to prison, but they don't know that I did this. They didn't know this. So when we are carrying around secrets, there was a movie 25, 30 years ago about, it wasn't The Saint, or I forget the movie. This guy carrying a big boulder up a mountain. And he'd get up to the top and he'd drop the boulder and it would roll down and he had to go pick it up and carry it up again. Back and forth and back and forth. And then one of the prison guards, I might be botching this movie, but it sounds like an interesting movie, so I'm going to go with this. So one of the prison guards says, why are you carrying that boulder? Oh, I have to. Why do you have to? I don't know. I thought it was a requirement. No. So we're carrying around this sin, this guilt. And it may not seem like it. It's easier keeping it in. Man, this is just, I can't share this with anybody. That is weighing us down. It is taking a toll on our mind, our body, and our soul. It affects our relationship with Jesus. It affects our relationship with other people. How many of you guys know that when I lie, I'm going to tell Dion something, and I got to tell Kevin something different, and Wendy something different, Gary something. I've got 8 lies that I have to remember. Who did I tell that to? And you get caught. It's stressful. So going through the step, you have one truth. You share it with one person, and you can share it with other people if you want to, and you have one story. And all of that stress of having to remember who you told what to is gone. So the other thing is, until I shared my secrets with my sponsor, I didn't like myself. You'd look in the mirror and just go, I would cuss myself out. I would just get angry. And then you come through the step and you get rid of some of this garbage that we're carrying around, and it's like, I'm not that bad of a person. Wow, God does love me. And I started to like myself again. So if any of you guys haven't experienced that, you can do that through this step. So, as step 5 says, admit the exact nature of our wrongs. So make sure when we're telling it, it does no good if we're just going to make something up and make up another lie to share with the sponsor for a little checklist. The exact nature. There are certain things that you don't necessarily need to tell another person. You go directly to God. But I found that by revealing these things to my sponsor, I had true healing. Okay. So with all the good things that come out of sharing, why don't we want to? What do we think we're losing by sharing? So the good things that we lose are, we lose a sense of isolation. Man, I'm the only one that knows what is going on in my head. I'm the only one that's feeling this. It's a very lonely place. So even though we're all addicts of some kind in here, we feel like this is mine. And when we share it, I get up here and I share, people get up here and share their testimonies, we feel less alone. Like, man, this is an accountability team. They know maybe not all the deep, darkest secrets, but they know the basics of what I'm going through. And you guys become my accountability partners when you see me at church on Sunday, or we see each other at the mall or the movie theater. And it's a very comforting feeling. Levi is new here. Levi's visiting us from Celebrate Recovery in Tempe. So I go over to Tempe. We run into each other at Starbucks, and hey, how you doing? There's somebody else keeping an eye on me, and I can keep an eye on him. It's like another little family that we have here. Second thing that we lose by sharing these things is our unwillingness to forgive each other. So most of us have a hard time accepting God's forgiveness. And we also have a hard time forgiving ourselves. It's easy. Somebody can, hey, I'm sorry I did that. No, it's okay. And then we come to church and they say, God is going to forgive you for everything. I don't know if a lot of us believe that. I don't know how many times it's in the Bible that God forgives. We admit our wrong. We try to do better. We're white as snow. God has wiped that off our record. We don't do it to ourselves. So why are we harder on ourselves than God is? So anyway, and that's the same with other people. Like, well, you're supposed to forgive me for doing that, but I'm not going to forgive you. Why? God freely gives us forgiveness. So the Bible says we are supposed to freely give it to other people. It's hard to do, but it gets easier as you start practicing that. Next thing that we lose is our inflated pride. If I sit here and I lie to you guys and I tell you that I'm the king of the world, I am the bee's knees, as they would say back in the day. When was that day anyway? It doesn't matter. But 40s. The 40s? Okay. So anyway, we think, man, I'm the best one in here. I'm the best addict in here. I am so glad I'm not as bad as everybody else. And then we share with people, and you guys know the truth. So my sense of pride goes away, which is fine, because I shouldn't have pride like that. God's the only one that should be proud. Last thing we lose is our sense of denial. The biggest thing I got out of this step was not during the step. It comes 6 months or a year later, and I can look in the mirror and I can go, this has become a problem now. I know how to go through the steps. I know how I feel going through it and sharing it with somebody and having somebody hold me accountable. And I go, I like that feeling. So that makes me more eager, more willing to look at other areas of my life. So instead of saying that's not a problem, I can go, no, that is a problem. So let's take care of that now. Okay, so that is what we have to lose. here's what we gain by sharing with another person. We gain healing. James 5:16 says, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so you may be healed. It doesn't say confess your sin to each other so you can be forgiven. Confess your sin to each other so God can forgive you. It says so you can be healed. Our sin takes a physical toll on our body, on our mind, on our relationships, everything we do. And confessing our sin helps heal our body. Okay, a second thing we gain is freedom. Secrets make us slaves. It's like lying. We have to remember, like I said, multiple versions of the truth. But God will snap the chains of bondage and set us free. Psalm 107, verse 13 says, the Lord led them from the darkness and from the shadow of death and snapped their chains. So our sin is holding us down. We are chained down, and by confessing that, our chains are snapped. The third thing we gain is support. When I share my inventory with somebody, there's a bond there. I'm giving that person permission to hold me accountable, and they are sharing with me areas where I can hold them accountable. So it's really, has anybody been through a fifth step before? Okay, so a little more than half. It's an empowering step. To me, the first half of my steps, it was I don't get this. It just seems like I'm tearing myself apart. Hey, I accept God. That's fine. The inventory, man, I don't want to hear it. And then this was a jolt of positive news for me. So when you share your inventory, somewhere down on this list here I have, when you share, don't forget, it's supposed to be half and half positive, half negative. So when I look at my piece of paper, in my mind, 99% of what I do is negative. Like, man, I am just a piece of dirt. I am no good. How can anybody love me? And then you look at your positive, you're like, wow, I do some good things. Thank you, God, that I do have some good qualities. And you look at the two of them, and you go, well, instead of having 14 pages of negatives against me, you cancel each other out, and I come out of an inventory, and there's 2 or 3 things that God is saying, hey, I'd like you to work on these. So anyway, Kevin does this to me occasionally. You know, we get here early, and Kevin sees something, and he doesn't do it to criticize or nag or, hey, you know, I noticed this last week. You know, it's just what we do here. You know, we're not going to call each other out, but privately we can go, hey, you told me to let you know when I see this. So it makes us more of a family. Anyway, so this is one of the lessons where we do not have an acrostic. I don't know why. I told Dion I'm going to call John Baker up in California and say, can you explain to me why we have 26 lessons and there's about 20 of them where we have an acrostic, but there's 6 where we don't? I'm not going to call him. I'll probably die with that lingering in my head somewhere. But anyway, I made one up. So if you guys have your paper, tonight's lesson is admit, and the A, everyone have paper, pen? Okay. The A is for another. Share your secrets with another person. So we went over that. We don't want to share it with a tree or an ocean or the wind. We're already sharing it with God. Share your secrets with another person. D is decide to tell this person the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It's really a time to be honest. If we want true healing, we have to be perfectly honest. So there are certain things that, you know, I've talked to people about, and they go, you know, I can't share this. I understand. Everyone's got something that's like, nah, not quite. Share those with God. Get them out and then work on them. Because if the goal here is to have true healing and have come into CR every Friday night, the food is great, the fellowship is great, the songs are great, the lessons are great, but we want to be healed. Right? I want to leave here lighter on my feet. I want to leave here like, man, I just went to this self-help seminar on Friday night and I got something out of it and I like myself and I want to keep coming back and doing more. So I know it's a nice social club, it's something to do every Friday night, but the real goal here is healing. Okay. M in admit is make time for your sharing. If you guys have not done a 5th step before, my first one took 5 hours. And it went by in seconds because you're just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. So don't rush through this. As I said, the goal is healing. Healing takes time. So make sure you set a huge chunk of time, and if you don't need it, at least you had it scheduled. It's a lot better than trying to rush through things. I is invite God to the meeting and thank him at the end. So we do that here. We welcome everybody in. The prayer, God, we want to invite you in here. God's already in here. We're inviting him anyway. And at the end of the night, thank him for being here. So invite God. T, we went over it a couple times, is true healing. True healing only comes from sharing the truth. If we decide to share something that is not the truth, I don't know. Is there any healing? Is it false healing? I don't know. It's not what I'm looking for here. Okay. So this next section, there's a big section in the lesson that's all about setting up the 5th step. Is anybody currently going through steps? Okay. Anybody else on their own with a sponsor? I mean, a lot of us kind of go through an ongoing step study every night. If in all the A's, NAAA, you do a nightly review, which is really steps 1 through 9 very quickly every evening. So I do that as part of my nightly review. I don't go through every part of the step. But anyway, so if none of you guys are going through a 5th step, I'm going to go over this briefly, and then when you get there, then Kevin or I or Gary, or Gary's last night here, you'll talk about that later, right? Yeah, maybe. Okay. Then we can talk more about that. Kevin and I were discussing prior to tonight's lesson. We are not ready to announce when the next step studies are, but soon, probably fall. And I know there's been a lot of people asking. There's been a lot of change, a lot of turnover, a lot of procrastination by my part. But they're coming, so we're anxious to announce that soon. So anyway, for a 5th step, first of all, make sure you choose a person of the same sex. You can argue with a lot of us in here that we're pretty firm on that. It just makes sense. Yes. It's also important to pick somebody who's impartial. You don't want to go in there and say, so I did this, and somebody goes, what? I can't believe that. That is going to do nothing but shut you down. Like, well, if that's the way they felt about me, stealing a candy bar 10 years ago from Target, then I'm not going to share any of the good stuff. So, all right, cool. Well, thanks for meeting. So make sure it's somebody who's been through at least half the steps. CR says half the steps. I still think it should be a full step study. But I'm not going to, I'm being recorded, so We never know who's gonna see this out in California. I personally picked somebody who has been all the way through steps. Number 3, like I said earlier, set an appointment for your meeting. No kids, no waitresses, no interruptions, no, hey, I'm expecting a phone call in a little while. Set aside a big chunk of time and devote it to healing, because healing is the goal. Like I said, start with prayer by inviting God to the meeting. When we do step study, book number 3 has a bunch of verses about what to pray for, what verses to concentrate on as you're going through the step study. So when you get your books, those will be in there. Number 6 on this for your 5th step is to keep your sharing balanced. So share positive and negative. Number 7, end in prayer. And thank God for the tools you have and the forgiveness He provides. That is all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.